Happy New Year's, folks. Many of you will know that January means Return to Lordran, the event in which players are encouraged to play through Dark Souls 1 once again and engage with the community. But personally, I have a different New Year's tradition. Every January for the past 5 years now, I've taken to playing through a Souls game with my favourite weapon class, shields. Most people's view of shields as nothing but a block or parry tool has led to this being a sorely underrepresented class of weaponry. But there's one game I haven't done this in so far, and that's Dark Souls 1. In fact, I haven't actually touched Dark Souls 1 since Dark Souls 3 released, so this is my first time using the Remastered edition. But enough talk, let's get to the rules. I can only damage enemies with shields. No glitches or exploits, no summons, and bonus rule time. I have banned all great shields. This is mainly due to the fact that they have an overall higher damage potential, but also because the Bone Wheel shield in Dark Souls 1 is utterly broken, and I kinda want some challenge. With that though, let's begin. Starting out, most classes get a shield, but we're picking the warrior here for a 100% block healer shield alongside some pretty nice starting stats. For gift, we're taking the master key to allow a few smaller sequence breaks. We start out, pick up our weapon and our Sunny D and head into the boss. The Asylum Demon here is rarely worth talking about in detail, but for us we have the misfortune of having pretty low damage. Not that it's really an issue, just stick behind our rather rotund friend here, and just keep smacking. Eventually his HP will be gone, and we can be abducted for the first of many times today. The world is our oyster, with many ways to go, but for us, there is but one. I take the elevator down through New Nondo ruins and use the master key to unlock the shortcut to the Valley of Drakes. On our way through here, we pick up a few soul items to help with early leveling and grab the Grass Crest shields for stamina regen. Then we head on up through Dark Route, past Andre and into Undead Parish. But we're only here to grab the key to Lower Undeadburg. After a brief sprint around, we come face to face with Capra Demon. Now this fight is usually hit or miss depending on the weapon, but since we have a 100% block shield, we can get ourselves in position to take out his dogs, and then it's just a long, slow process of chipping away Capra's HP, one swing at a time. Or in this case, one plunging attack at a time. 11 minutes later though, and we have our key to the depths. This is what we've been aiming for. Around the midpoint of this area we can trigger an invasion with Kirk. He has a 33% chance to drop a shield for us. So lead him back to the staircase and he's easy to pick off. Now for the moment of truth. Nothing! Well, time to do this all over from the beginning. Get back here, Kirk. Give me your shield. Whew. Second try. The spike shield here will be our main weapon through the first half of the game. It has decent dex scaling and a bleed effect on top. Now to head out and casually forget to pick up the large ember. Don't worry, I'll be back for it soon. First though, a real test of our spiky new weapon. Taurus Demon. Take out the two archers, then bait out pretty much any attack to get a free running attack in for 51 damage. Could be better, certainly could be worse. The real damage comes in when bleed procs though. Yeah, that's more like it. Well, it's certainly slow, but more or less safe, so Taurus is an easy win. I take this opportunity to upgrade our shield to +5 and free our pal Lautrec before heading to the gargoyles. One gargoyle isn't too bad, it's relatively easy to dodge and punish. But when the second enters, it becomes a problem to get in and get hits. Unfortunately, we end up getting comboed to death in our first try. I take a brief detour to pick up the Ring of Favour and a Firekeeper's Soul to make our flask +2, then head in for round 2. This time, I play very aggressively, trying to get in as much damage as I can before the second catches up. This lets me narrow it back down to a 1v1 very quickly. Granted, shields are already starting to show an issue with enemy hitboxes, but for now, it's not too big a problem. We take our final hit, and ring the first spell of Awakening. It's right about now that I realised that I missed the Ember, so I picked it up along the way to the Gaping Dragon. But first, your channeler friend has to go, my friend. Well, that's a thing. Hitboxes are starting to be a bit of an issue here. We have to aim for specific spots, otherwise our attacks will just whiff. And add in how mobile Gaping is, and we're just not getting bleed to proc this time. I did end up getting a little careless here, which resulted in my death. But for the most part, you can just bait out the charge attack and then attack the tail until nothing but a gaping hole remains. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm taking the long way round. Because there's no way I am going down the normal entrance to Blighttown ever in my life again. Down in Blighttown, it's time for the demonetization demon herself, Quelaag. Our damage is still not the best, but Quelaag has plenty of openings to exploit. Just make sure you always have an exit route for when she does her AoE. Actually, surprisingly, the safest spot in this fight is right in front of her, just to the right hand side. Here, most of her attacks will just miss, and we can slowly whittle away a health bar for some free souls. Speaking of free souls, hi, Ceaseless. Bye, Ceaseless. On our way out, we put a diseased woman out of her misery and pick up another Firekeeper Soul to get our flask to +4. I'm not quite sure that's enough though for the future, so I head back into the catacombs to meet our old friend Pinwheel. Given our low damage, we actually get a fight here, especially since we keep missing. So long as I can keep on top of the clones though, it's still relatively easy. With a little patience, we can get the Rite of Kindling and the Mask of the Child. Not exactly my first choice, but still great. Back at Firelink, I just need to stop and tie my shoe. Oh great, we're being abducted again. Well, since I'm here anyways, let's pick up the doll for later and go see Stray Demon. His health bar is rather large, but he's barely more deadly than his cousin Asylum Demon. In fact, his new AoE blast leaves him open to counterattacks from behind or a well-timed running attack. With that though, we grab a free Titanite slab. Gonna be a while before that's useful, but it's nice to have. Sen's Funhouse time. Gonna be perfectly honest, this area really doesn't change no matter what weapon you have. But we do have a few things to take care of here that most people would rather ignore. First things first, we redirect the boulder trap so that Siegmeyer here can continue its questline. Then I popped in to buy a bunch of large Titanite. We also take out all the giants around for Titanite chunks. Then we unlock the cage shortcut and head back to Andre to grab +10. Ah, Iron Golem. The good thing about shields is that they do rather good stamina damage, which means we can knock down Iron Golem really easily for some free damage. In fact, there's almost nothing the Golem can do to us. I deserved that. This time, maybe don't stand next to the edge of a cliff. Much better. With our third abduction of the day, we're in Anno Londo. Just head past the nightmare and assist our fair onion with the situation, and we're ready for Ornstein and Smo. Now, one problem. Normally in this fight I'd take out Ornstein first, mainly because he's much easier to separate out and pick off. But this time I kinda need to deal with them in the opposite order. This means I need to carefully take hits where I can to whittle down Smo while Ornstein is separated. It wasn't clean, in fact it was a very sloppy fight. But we come to phase 2 and Super Ornstein. His grab hitbox is a lot bigger than you think, so be careful. But when there's only one of them, it's just a matter of time. That was surprisingly easier than expected. Well, Leo Ring is ours, and with the Lord Vessel, backtracking is now a lot easier. But first, you know the drill. Time for our hourly kidnapping. We make our way back down to Blighttown to meet up with Siegmeyer once again and trade free Purple Moss for the Pierce Shield. This is our endgame weapon, folks. As you can see here, we get better damage at plus 10, and on top of that, it's affected by Leo Ring. In fact, I have just the punching bag to test it out on. Oh, Havel! Yeah, that's some decent damage. I think we're about on par with the normal weapon now. Only took half the game. We have 4 new options on where to go though. I chose New Londo. No, I am not mad. I know we don't have the Covenant. I'm just here to drain the water and grab the very large ember. See, along the way, I've gathered enough materials to max out our weapon. Ooh, 344 AR. Now that is juicy. Now to go grab that Covenant. Oh yeah, I never did Moonlight, did I? Well, that's one problem solved. Now for Sif. Well, we're doing good damage, but it's rather hard to hit Sif. Between his hitboxes not lining up correctly and Sif just jumping all over the place, it's not exactly easy. But as the fight goes on, Sif gets slower and slower, till eventually... Now you're just making me feel bad, man. Good night, Fair Papa. You were the goodest of boys. Onwards into the abyss, my friends. The Four Kings is a bit of a damage race, which means we have to play aggressive. Which for a shield is not exactly the easiest. Yeah. And on top of that, locking on will sometimes result in us attacking the wrong direction and wasting time, and it's a pretty stressful fight. But stay on the right hand side, and most of their attacks can't hit you, save for the grab and AoE. Unfortunately, by the time we can take one out, 2 more are usually spawned in. But this time they played nice and kept their distance, allowing me to pick them off one by one. Our options now are the Duke's Archives, Tomb of Giants, and Lost Izalith. May as well rip the band-aid off now and just go to hell. And hell it is indeed, for first is the Demon Fire Sage. While it may just be another reskinned Stray Demon, this time we have a far worse arena, making our ability to dodge quite limited. In fact, I'm pretty sure I got hit by just about every AoE blast in this fight. But its HP bar isn't all that high, and our damage is now maxed, meaning it's just a matter of time. If I'm being honest, I don't exactly have a lot of experience with Centipede Demon. Back when I did regular runs of Prepare to Die Edition, I would always skip Centipede Demon, either through Daughter of Chaos shortcut, or via the Rockworm grab clip. If I did have to fight him, I'd usually use the grab cheese. So this is probably only my second or third time fighting him total. Since most of the arena is Death Trap, we lure him to this one small island where I can get in hits on his legs. I'm gonna be honest, I remember this fight being far worse than it is. Take away the lava and its moveset is very simple, allowing for a lot of counterattack opportunities. That's one more menace down. Now into the land of nacho cheese. Well, at least it's not quite as blinding on the remaster. I was fully prepared to have to turn this segment's brightness down in editing, but it feels good to not have to mess with that. We take a brief stop to put Solaire out of his misery and grab the Sunlight Maggot, then head into the worst boss in the Souls franchise. The Bed of Chaos. Is this even worth considering a fight? It's a glorified obstacle course at best. One that never fails to kill me at least once, admittedly, but the health bar is rather redundant here. On our way through the Tomb of Giants, I stopped to see our old friend Leroy Jenkins, and persuaded him to part way with Sanctus. It may be small, but HP regen is HP regen. It saves us some flasks on boss runbacks, and I think that's pretty neato. Speaking of neato, this has to be the biggest example of hitboxes for a shield run. You pretty much have to attack a very specific spot, and only when he's at certain points in his animations, otherwise the attack will just whiff. This means this fight takes an ungodly long time. But being honest, his skeletons pose more of a threat than Nito himself. It doesn't take long before we're victorious. But before we head to the archive though, I stopped to admire some fine art. Wait, no, we've already met our kidnapping quota for the day, no! I'm gonna be real with you guys. I respect the fluff. But given we're doing all bosses, I'm gonna have to get rough. It's during this fight that I discovered just how powerful the jump attack is. It made this whole fight a joke. But I do feel really guilty now. One last thing before we head into the archives. It's Hydra time. Most of the heads are actually rather easy to hit, and they all die in one attack. But this last one's gonna require a bit of trickery. Run in place on this rock, and try to bonk it as it clips through for a fraction of a second. With that done, we can free Dusk and be on our way. In the archives, we pick up the DLC key, and in a twist nobody saw coming, get kidnapped once again. Starting to feel like a Disney princess at this point. Hey, at least this time they actually locked me up instead of kidnapping me for the hell of it. Time for one of the easiest bosses in the game. No joke. Just break his crystal and stand in his armpit smacking away. Yeah, occasionally you'd get hit and have to move away once or twice to let the curse bar decrease. But for the most part, you just stand there and smack. It's not even that hard. With that though, we have 4 Lord Souls. Oh yeah, I forgot Gwendolyn. Yeah, seems about right. Well, our latest in a string of kidnappings has led us to the DLC. I should note, I've only played this DLC once. Back when I played Dark Souls 1 regularly, I focused mostly on the any% speedrun, so the DLC wasn't exactly needed. Starting out, it's the Sanctuary Guardian. It's a very mobile boss and has quite high damage, but its defenses are somewhat lacking. And if you get to its side, there's not really much it can do to you. But let's be honest, it's the next one you guys have been waiting for. Artorias. Starting out, it's very hard to get ahead in. We pretty much always have to counterattack, which means memorizing his moveset. Granted, we have enough stamina to block most of his attacks, and learning isn't too bad. It does take a fair few deaths though. Of note is his buff. If we're not close enough, then we can't get in the free hits we need to knock him out, which causes huge issues. One that can turn an almost one run into an absolute failure. I learned pretty quickly that I have to play a reactionary battle from very close up and be as aggressive as I can be. Almost every attack has enough of a window for a single hit, so it's a slow process. But eventually, we vanquish the Abyss Walker. But it only gets more difficult from here. For the sake of my conscience, I saved the pupper and then prepared myself for Manus. Oh, come on, dude. Again? Do you not have anything better to do? Well, I mean, besides smashing me into the ground repeatedly. Manus is another highly reactionary fight. Most attacks will leave a chance for a jumping attack, but I always need to be prepared to get away quickly from his wombo combo. For the most part though, I can keep mid-distance and bait out some of the more easily countered attacks for free damage. Then phase 2 comes. The Circle of Dark magic is avoidable by getting close, and I can block most of the damage from Dark Rain. But the forward barrage? Yeah, it's either dodge that or die. There is no in between, unfortunately. This led to me adapting my strategy to sticking close. It did mean less opportunities to attack, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Especially when one blast can mean resetting a lot of progress. Yeah, that one stings. But with enough luck, we're able to quell the Abyss. And then there were two. Calamite. What many consider the hardest boss in the game. Maybe even the franchise for some. Yeah, it turns out a shield can block most of his incoming damage and does decent enough damage in return to make this significantly easier than most. Now I'm not saying it was easy. I still died a lot here. But for the most part, the only real threatening attacks are the AoE fire and his grab. Mostly because I didn't realize how to dodge them till my last attempt. But for the most part, a lot of Calamite's attacks leave him wide open to a good old jumping attack or two, meaning it's just a matter of time at this point. That has to be the easiest dragon fight I've had in a while. But riding high on victory, we listen to those sweet plin plin plons as we face Gwyn. Well, we're using a shield, so you guys should know how this goes. Yeah, Gwyn is super allergic to parries. Now we can't riposte, but we still can damage him. Took me a little bit to remember Dark Souls 1's parry timing, but when I did, Gwyn's reign was over. With that, dark shall once again reign. If you haven't already, give a shield run a try. Not just in Dark Souls 1, but any of the games really. It's a surprisingly fun way to play, and really changes your outlook on a lot of fights. That's all from me for this month, folks. Have fun in your adventures in Lordran these coming weeks. Next time for us, though, it's February. That means Pokemon Day, so it's time to take a walk through memory lane. See you guys then.
Let true dark be cast upon the world. Our Lord hath returned.